What up? We back. Welcome to the channel. What if I told you there's an easy way to farm some brownie points? Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. You might not want to do it. You might think it's stupid. I know I did when I first took it upon myself to start doing things like this. But the brownie points exist for a reason. And that's the fun of it. Doing something that gets you a reward. Whether or not you think it's stupid, whether or not you think it doesn't make much sense, you get a reward from it. So it's enjoyable. This is more for the guys. I'm gonna be honest, because when it comes to us, we're often faced with at least what we feel like are stupid questions when it comes to our partners if they're female. Your dynamic is your dynamic. Stupid questions might be something like,
would you love me if I was a worm?
If you could be an animal, what kind of animal would you be? And the hope is that you pick the animal that they also said they would be so that you guys could be together. Stupid questions, right? That's what we think, at least. But what if I told you you should always answer with the right answer? Hear me out. You know what the right answer is. You know when you need to say the right thing. For instance, my relationship with my fiance, she needs sometimes frequent reassurance that I love her. No matter how many times I say it, no matter how many times she knows it, no matter what, she needs more. And some of that can be implemented by things that they see. You know, it might be a trend to ask a question like that or to always need that reassurance, right? And that's honestly what sparked this video. You know, you'll see men on social media, you likely on their partner's TikTok or some other form of communication, faced with these questions all the time. And our partners are wondering, somewhat truthfully, whether or not that's what we'd feel like. For the sake of the relationship, I feel like there's an interesting discourse here. I think part of it for us as men is, our thought process is, what exactly is going on in our partner's brain? What is this question? Right. Another thing that I think is an interesting part of the dynamic. Another thing I think is an interesting part of the conversation. Why is it so stupid to us? Obviously, there is some piece of our partners that want to have this conversation for some reason, whatever it may be. Why do we view it in such a stupid way? And that's kind of the biggest piece of it, is that as men, we can't really see it from the opposite perspective. And I think that opens up a bigger conversation here as to, how we can improve in that way, but also how we can best understand our partners and where that thought process comes from. And I think that is a fundamental aspect of this. And it may be somewhat of a controversial opinion among men, because I know how we are. I know there's plenty of times in my personal life that I don't want to answer the stupid questions. I don't want to give the right answer. I think that if you do give the right answer, if you lean into the question, that your relationship gets better. I feel that you're able to build a deeper bond with that person. Perfect example. I told my fiance that sunflowers were my favorite flower. And now men don't usually receive flowers. But early on in our relationship, she went out and got sunflowers and brought them to me. She hates that I still view this as one of the most impactful pieces of our relationship, because she feels like she should always constantly top that because she's a gift giver. That's her love language. But for me, I had no expectations for her yet. You know what I mean? So for her to go all the way out of her way to go do that for me, it was very meaningful. In my mind, that same parallel can be applied to these questions. It may be stupid to us, but to them, they don't really have any expectations other than that you should give the right answer. So if you lean into that, theoretically, relationship gets better because you're always giving the correct answer. I think our ability to also lean into this also gives us an amazing parallel for what relationships are actually like. If you choose the right answer, you're choosing something else in the relationship over yourself. You're being selfless, the stupid answer, but you're choosing the relationship over yourself. You're choosing to grow the relationship. You're choosing to indulge this person rather than indulging yourself. And in my opinion, that's what a relationship is. You make sacrifices, you make compromises to make the relationship better for you collectively, not just yourself, of course. And that sets a good precedent for the relationship, because there are going to come times where you want to do what you want to do. And I think those become very pivotal, because yes, you might want to do what you want to do, but how does your relationship look after you make that decision? Is everything okay? Or did you do something that you probably shouldn't have done that your partner may not feel the best about? Or did you take a step back and go, what will my partner think about this? Do I want to put my partner in this position? You choose your partner over yourself. You choose the relationship over yourself. Again, I feel like I have to say this with a lot of my videos. It's never a blanket statement. There are moments where you should choose yourself, and your partner should be okay with you choosing yourself, because that's a good thing. You have your independence in the relationship because you're two separate people building choosing a new relationship. But for the most part, I think you can't go wrong with choosing the relationship over yourself, or at least thinking about it from the perspective of how your relationship is affected. So let's say you chose correctly. You decided to play the game. You answered the question, even though you thought it was stupid. Babe, would you love me if I was a worm? Yes, I would love you if you were a worm, for sure. Babe, I feel like I would be a lion in another life. What animal would you be? I'd be a lion, because then we'd be together. Blah, blah, blah. My biggest hurdle with this is that in my head, I thought I sounded corny. I thought I seemed like I was a square. Like, I felt like I was saying things that I wouldn't normally say. Because, like, in our personal lives, we don't talk like that. Like, we don't do all that lovey-dovey baby stuff. But in a relationship, that's what it should be. Because it's love. Like, you don't feel embarrassed to do those things. And initially, I felt like that feeling crept up in me. But now, it's not hard for me to say the right answer. I don't feel embarrassed by doing it. One, because I've grown more comfortable with my fiance, but at the same time, I know that's the right answer and it feels right to say it. But you've chosen correctly. What's the reward? Nothing bad can come from saying, yes, babe, I would be a lion. Yes, babe, I would love you if you were a worm. So if we run with that idea, then we got to be getting brownie points, right? And brownie points are beneficial. You know, brownie points are a way to revere you for doing things that you quote unquote should be doing. The only thought process is that you're endearing yourself more to that person. From that perspective, I can't see why you wouldn't provide the right answer. At least for me personally right now. I guess maybe if you're just, choosing to be confrontational to some aspect, but if your relationship is good, if you're enjoying it, and you know there's a benefit in choosing the right answer, why say the opposite? If we actively reject the right answer, what environment are we creating? What type of relationship are we asking for? One where your partner can't be playful? One where everything has to be ridiculously serious all the time? Life isn't like that. Life is serious, but sometimes it's funny. Life is funny, but sometimes it's sad. Life is sad, but sometimes it's happy. It's confusing. It's straightforward. It's frustrating. It's easy. It's hard. Life can be many things. But why would you dictate your relationship has to be one specific way, knowing that life can be that way? And I feel like, at least in my experience, like I said, from the social media and from the interactions with my fiance, that it would just cause problems. Unless you're a jokester, unless you're going to make a slight joke, but then you come back with, yeah, of course I would, blah, blah, blah. But just being like, why is such a stupid question? We're not worms. There is clearly a point there. We're not worms and we're not going to be literal animals. But why not indulge in that for a little bit? Why shoot it down? Why make it seem so bad? It doesn't provide any benefit to do so. And arguably, at least in my experience, it just makes your partner feel bad. Even if you say the question was stupid, some people are going to feel like you're calling them stupid. Why create an area where those problems exist? And it's only a hypothetical, but is it actually that serious to call out the ridiculousness of the question? That's something I would urge us to think about and help us process whether or not we're okay with the relationship if we have to do that at every turn or even at some. And there truly is nothing wrong with voicing concerns, but you presumably knew who you were getting into a relationship with. So you knew this type of person would ask this type of question. And it's kind of similar to the last video, but why change what attracted you to them? If you knew you were getting into this relationship with that type of person, you knew they were going to ask those questions, why try to change that about them? At some point, you found it cute and funny. What changed? And I think that allows us to see whether or not it's maybe us personally or if it's actually the relationship itself or our partner. And now I know that's very fickle and not really an important piece of the conversation, but it's just something general that I wanted to throw in there. I don't know. That's my opinion. What do you think? Is it too stupid to fully lean in to that piece of conversation? Or is it endearing enough? Is our partners coming from a loving and actually endearing place? So we should fully lean into it. Let me know in the comment. And remember, be happy.